Lauren. Okay, great to have everybody on the call. Thanks so much for being here to talk numbers. I love it. I love it. I love it. So this morning, just to make sure everybody's on the right boot camp here, and maybe if you wouldn't mind muting your mics just for now. I love the engagement, and I'll definitely ask you to engage as we go forward. Yeah, but just for now, thank you so much, everybody. All right, I'm just letting a couple other people in as we go here. Okay, so to make sure you're all in the right place, this is the Wake Up Call, the Founders Wake Up Call Bootcamp. And we're going to introduce you to three huge eye-openers, three mission critical numbers that hopefully every founder really should know. But in my 12 years of teaching founders about finance, there's only been two that have been able to answer all three for me. So I'm excited to go through these numbers with you. Again, it is going to be a huge change, a game changer for you. Now, oftentimes with numbers, I just want to draw your attention to this. As I was saying earlier in the call, it takes a lot of courage to be here to actually work through numbers and finances and dial in on those digits. But the wake up call numbers that I'm going to show you, I don't want you to be fearful of them from the place of, I'm not going to be able to do it. The whole reason why I'm about to show you the numbers that I'm about to show you and the data isn't to scare you, but it's to motivate you. So it's almost a little bit of a game changer right now, a different mindset as you move into this, to think about these numbers may look really uncomfortable to dig into, but really on the other side of this, it's about now game on, let's make it happen. And they're really there and designed to motivate you through it. So if we haven't met, and I don't think I have met anybody on this call, with the exception of Jessica, obviously, Williamson. Actually, maybe Jessica, before I start, is there anything you would like to say on behalf of City of Airdrie? Sorry, before I jump in.
No, just welcome everybody. And if we haven't worked with you already, we would love to help you with your business. I will put contact information for our team in the chat, and we look forward to all the learnings. And Tanya will be talking about the following workshop that we hope all of you attend as well.
That's it. Thank you, Jessica. This is part A. There's a part B, and you'll see why part A is so important. I need to applaud City of Airdrie because they have really stepped up and offered this boot camp for you free of charge. Again, the way that all of this is going to work, how all of these numbers come together, it's a very different way of looking at numbers. And as you can probably tell already, I'm a very different sort of presenter. So I'm not your typical CRA accountant at the front of the room telling you what to put in your credit column and what to put in your debit column. I really want to connect with you on this. So my name is Tanya. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Nail the Numbers. And we are a financial training agency on a mission to strengthen your minds and your bottom lines. So it's not just so much about how you work the numbers, but why you're doing what you're doing with the numbers, right? Really important to get that down. Now, our agency, just so you know, and you'll see why this is important at the end, not only do we have trainers, but we have bookkeepers who help to clean your books and calibrate your books. That's really important. And then we also have what we call an accountant in residence. So that accountant in residence is there to really support you with second opinions, right? Because it's really on us as founders to take ownership of the numbers and to take ownership of the choices that we're making with those numbers. But sometimes it can be a little overwhelming with all the different things going on, especially when it comes to taxes and what do you take as a wage and how do you pay and expenses. So we've got that person there for your second opinions. Now, the interesting part of this story is actually why I started the company. So for complete transparency, I have had many businesses, but one business that I started in 2001 actually went down. It's what we call insolvent. And that was in 2008. So it was a business that I'd had for 8 years. We had super strong sales. We had a team of 14. We had over 2,000 members. We had actually expanded into BC. But this is important for all of you to know. Despite it being investor backed, The reason why the business went down wasn't because there wasn't sales. It was because there was no bottom line. There was no net profit. So sales might keep you treading water, right? But unless you have bottom line net profit, you will not be able to weather economic turmoil. You'll not be able to weather global pandemics. And it's because so few business owners had actually built a healthy bottom line in their business that the government had to come rushing in with SEBA, right? In business. That's why. Because we're going to spend a lot of time on bottom line today, but the spoiler alert on this is that net profit is actually on a balance sheet, it's what we call retained earnings. In life, it's what we call our emergency fund, our safety net. That's actually what net profit is first and foremost. And we live in a society where there's a lot of stigma around net profit. So I'm going to teach you today not how to build net profit. That's in part B. But today I'm going to teach you why building net profit is so important. That's the whole reason of this call. That's the wake up call. So everybody with me? Everybody excited to get going? Okay, so my first question, as you'll see, I'm going to move back and forth between slides, but I don't want to stay in a slide presentation all call because that's kind of boring. So you'll see me go back and forth and it'll be messy and sloppy and I'll make some mistakes, but I prefer just to be live with you and get to see everybody's body language. Maybe I will say for those of you that aren't on camera, if you wouldn't mind turning on your cameras, it's great to be able to connect with all of you. So I can see you and make sure that I'm reading you. And if I've lost anybody, I want to make sure that I'm catching that too. So really appreciate you showing up live on camera. All right, so this is where I am going to ask you to take off your microphones for a minute. And I'm going to ask you the question about why did you start your business? In Spanish, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué? Why did you start your business? There's usually a couple boilerplate answers. And don't be afraid to shout them out because everyone's probably got some of the same answers going here. Why did you start your business? Patty? Oh, she turned herself on mute. Come on, Patty. You can do it.
I know. Sorry, I'm not very techy, as you can tell.
No worries either.
So I'm actually a financial person. I had a long accounting career and I just got tired of it. I got tired of the stress of it and the commute to Calgary. And so I wanted to do something a little more fun. And that's when I started my flower shop. So
beautiful, lovely. So
yeah.
so you started the flower shop to do something different, to do something you were passionate about.
Yes.
Is what I'm hearing. Awesome. So again, yeah, not alone. Thank you for that, Patty. A lot of people start their business because they love what they're doing and they want to make the world a better place by loving what they're doing and sharing that with the world. So thank you. That's huge. What else? Any other big reasons on why we started our business other than for the love of it? So I kind of have a rule of three, just so y'all know. I don't move forward unless we get 3 responses. So,
do we count as 2
covered today? Go for it, Laura and Sophie.
All right. So for myself, it's definitely a passion as well. I left the health industry, so I was a nurse in the hospital, and Lana and I amalgamated our businesses. We were both doing holistic practices like Reiki and sound healing. And I felt like the hospital was losing its humanity. And it wasn't the core practice that I wanted to be part of and the way that I want to care for people and help them feel good. So Lana and I merged our businesses just recently this year, and we're all about helping the individual feel better in themselves.
Beautiful. Congratulations. It's beautiful that you've merged together. And then to your point too, sometimes we see an opportunity in the market, right? Or something that isn't going right. And we feel that we can make a difference in that space. So sometimes it comes out of anger or frustration. We're like, let's go and do something about this. So I love that. Thank you for that.
Well, it pretty much started where it was walls. I couldn't even get to work. Like I would have to turn around, go home. And Yeah, the reliability wasn't there anymore. And then the frustration built up. And I'm like, okay, something's got to change for my own personal life and my business health.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good. Yeah, good for you on making that happen. I love it. And who's going to be our third?
I'll go.
Go
I can,
for it,
I can
Catherine.
just tag right on to that. I was working at a school-based mental health role with Alberta Health, and I would do these mental health assessments in these rural communities and then have like no service to refer them to in Airdrie. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like this is not why I became a psychologist. So I opened my own practice and 8 years ago, and here we are.
Congratulations. 8
Thanks.
years. Fantastic. Well, the world so needs all of you, right? I think our world is in crisis right now. There's a lot of problems going on. And what I love about the work that we do with founders, you do make the world a better place. Just the way you think. And, you know, all of you, like this is the number one reason why a lot of business owners get started is because of their passion and their purpose. They want to just make the world different, right? They feel like there's a lot of value that they can offer and a lot of substance. So I applaud you for that. Thank you for doing that. Now, my question there is that oftentimes we show up powerfully for others at cost to ourselves. So I'm going to take you through some high level numbers. And this is about just the state of Canadians, because it's been my experience that how you manage your money in business is actually a reflection of how you manage your money at home. So the data I'm about to show you is pre-COVID data, but I'm showing it to you again, not to scare you. I'm showing it to motivate you. And hopefully that if you see yourself in any of these numbers, I want you to know you're not alone. Because money is a scary topic and a lot of people don't talk about it because of shame and secrecy and guilt. So everybody hides. And then that perpetuates the problem when we dig a deeper hole for ourselves. So I'm just going to flip my screen here for a sec and just take you through some high level numbers. Again, not to scare you, but to motivate you out of it. So can everybody see my screen? Okay, so pre-COVID, this is what was happening in Canada. Pre-COVID, we were $13.7 trillion behind where we needed to be for retirement needs. So Canadians' retirement needs by the year of 2035, we were short $13.7 trillion in this country. Guess what the number one, I'm going to say trend, but it's not a trend. The number one cause fueling that deficit is. What's fueling that deficit, do you think? Any ideas? Kind of a trick question.
Overspending?
Well, it actually, no, well, overspending maybe in the founder's perspective, but you'll see why it ties in here. The number one trend fueling the deficit is entrepreneurship. Because most entrepreneurs, tell me if this resonates with you, most entrepreneurs are taking what we call a draw or a dividend out of the business. We're paying ourselves what the business can afford to pay us. And we're not setting ourselves up as the employee with CPP source deductions, right? It's those source deductions. If you wouldn't mind turning yourself on mute, I'm going to put one person on mute because I have a feeling I know who it is. Okay. And so what happens then as founders is that when we pay ourselves that draw, we aren't contributing to CPP. And usually from that draw, we're not saying, oh, here's my chunk that I'm going to put into RRSPs this month, right? We're just barely making enough every month, let alone RRSPs, let alone putting enough aside for our income tax every month, right? Is all of that, like, just like, let me know if this is, yeah, okay. So some of us are in this boat, not all, but that's retirement needs. Spending pre-COVID, as Canadians, we were spending $1.76 for every dollar that we earned. Just so you know, it is now 184. When I started this, it was 171. So despite there being more financial literacy out there, more organizations, and despite all the increase of information to Canadians about spending, saving, sharing, investing, earning, we're spending more than we ever have. And where do we get that 76 cents? Well, now it's 84. Where are we getting that extra 84? If we only earn $1, where are we getting the extra 84 cents?
debt?
Absolutely. Lines of credit, credit cards, right? That's
Mm.
exactly where we're getting that money. Thank you for that, Mona. Okay. We were saving less than 3% of our income. In 1980, we used to save 20% of our income. Back in the day, we would only buy a house when we had the full cash to pay for the house. We would only buy a car when we had all the cash to pay for the car. So we're increasing our debt. We're minimizing our savings. We're now down to 3%. The average consumer debt before COVID was 27,000. That has actually gone down now to 21,000. What they think happened, and we don't have any solid numbers post-COVID, but they think that people who did actually get some of that, those subsidies that came in on the personal side of things, right? And the mortgage freezes, they took those extra funds and actually started paying down debt. So that number has gone down. These numbers might floor you. 46% of Canadians were $200 away from insolvency. 46, that's half of our country. So insolvency just means you're not making enough money to cover your monthly burn rate, your needs. So half of our country was $200 away from insolvency. 16% of our country is what we call underbanked, which means that even if they could get a bank account, they can't get access to credit. And 2 in 10 Canadians could access, only 2 in 10 Canadians could access $1,000 of cash in the event of an emergency. And again, that's why our government had to step in and offer the benefits, right? So Canadians were in a bind pre-COVID. And just so that you're aware too, when we think about all of this whole, actually, I'm gonna move forward because I don't want to get stuck on this. Okay, so I'm moving forward. So here's our personal snapshot. And then now what's happening is that Founders Foundation. So in finances, we have 5 pillars. We have our spending pillar, our savings pillar, our share pillar, our invest pillar, and our earn pillar. Those apply both in our personal life and in our business life. So if you saw yourself in any of these in our personal situation, our personal financial situation is vulnerable, right? If we don't have our savings topped up, if we're in debt, right? If we don't have our retirement, all of that means we're financially vulnerable. Then what happens is that founders further compromise their financial security by now doing some of these things. And I share these not to criticize, I share these because I did these, so I know them personally. I went and I used a personal line of credit to start my business. I used credit cards to fuel my business. I used a personal loan to get my business started. I wiped out my savings account to start my business, right? Because you needed owner's equity. My taxes weren't current. So now I was further behind, getting more and more in the hole because I couldn't afford the tax bill when it came, which put me into more debt with the credit cards. My investments, when I did not, fortunately, I had no liens on my property, nor did I have promissory notes. And that is the only reason why I didn't have to go bankrupt, is because I didn't have the promissory notes. How many of you know what promissory notes are? Okay, a couple of people. I'm just going to say it just so everybody's clear. A promissory note is a legally binding document that says in the event that the business is not able to repay the funds, then you are personally obligated to repay the funds, right? So it's a personal debt to you. A lot of people sign business loans and they think, oh, okay, that's good. It's the debt's attached to the business. It's actually attached to you when you sign the promissory note. And then I did cash in my RRSPs to start my business. I actually even sold my house and put the equity of my house in my business. I was all in, and I was actually really proud of that. And it all came crashing down. And this is why I do the work that I do, because I want to teach you why this is so important. So then also my earnings were reduced. How many of you are actually earning what you think is a fair market wage in your business? If you had to go do your work for someone else, would you be getting, most founders, right? If you had to hire someone to do the work that you're doing. So now we're further compromised. Okay, last Debbie Downer slide. I hope there's no Debbies on the call. But last Debbie Downer slide, and then we're moving into positive territory. Okay, so now we've got a founder that's financially compromised at home. And now we further compromise by starting the business. And now in the business, we end up kind of repeating that habit that we had in our personal situation. So we know our average income now as a founder in Canada is about 59,000. That's the average. 87% of founders aren't getting that remuneration that's commensurate with the value that they're offering, right? Fair market value, as we actually just talked about. This is are not. 87% are not. The average credit card debt, not loans, credit card debt per founder is 35,000. And interest rates, have they gone up or have they gone down for credit cards? Up or down? Up, 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 right? So we're calculating that. I'm going to come back to these numbers in a minute. 53% of founders have a stable credit score, which means 47% do not. And here's the thing, this is interesting. So 7 in 10 entrepreneurs. So in Canada, the score is 71%. 71% of founders close their doors in business every year due to poor financial management. Just sit with that number for a second. So 71% of founders are closing their door due to poor financial management. Now, I'm going to counter that in a moment, so hold on to that number. And then another number I want you to hold on to is that 89% of founders are generating less than a 3% net profit. Do any of you happen to know what your net profit is? Oh, okay, a few. Patty does. Patty, our finance person, does. Okay, so let's actually, I'm just trying to think if I want to keep this open right now or not. I am going to keep this open for a second. So just so that you're aware, when we take into account all businesses, 98% of businesses actually won't make it to year 5, including sole proprietorships. And then out of that, we've got 71% that are actually going to go down because of poor financial management. Now, here's what I want you to know. I want you to kind of, that word financial management, there's a lot of, there's probably a lot of judgment attached to that. I actually don't believe, what I personally have witnessed is it's not necessarily the management piece of it that is getting everybody stuck. It's the understanding of it. So my personal belief, what I've noticed in my own work and in the work that we've done with founders, is that the vast majority of business owners are going down financially because of the gap. So write this down. They do not have their goal. You don't have the goal in your business. You're not emotionally aligned with the goal. And then you don't have the plan to achieve the goal. So here's my question for you. Back to this ties back in to the why. And I'm just going to come back and stop share so I can see all of you. When we're building our business, how many of you have actually thought of your business as an investment? A few people have. Okay, awesome. So here's 5 questions that you ideally should be able to answer going forward. And again, this is where there's only been 2 that have been able to answer it. But I actually want you to think about, when we think about the goal in business, most people, how many of you here actually know what you are creating? So we talked about why you're doing it, but do you know what you are building as an investment? Do you have a clear number in mind with respect to what is that goal for you? And Patty does. Okay. So here's how you need to think about it. There was 2. So one was actually a company in Calgary. It was an AV company that said, yep, I'm selling my company in 5 years to these 3 employees, and I'm getting out for the X amount. The other company that was able to clearly articulate this was Skip the Dishes. So Skip the Dishes, I had the opportunity to work with them at CYBF back in the day. They were just getting started. And they knew they wanted out in 5 years for X amount of money. They were very clear with that. They knew what they were building, when they wanted out, and how much money they were going to get for it. So here's the 5 questions you should eventually be able to get yourself to answer. One is knowing the value of what you are building. So how much is your business going to be worth? How much is your business going to be worth by when. So now you've got a dollar amount, you've got a year. By offering what impact? So what is the solution that you're actually offering? What are you doing for the world? What is your impact? This is where all of you will be able to answer because you're so purpose driven. And then for whom? That's your ideal audience, really locking in on it. And then through what services, what products or services? Does that make sense to everybody? So how much is your business going to be worth, by when, by having what impact, on whom, through what products and services? That is you now thinking like a CEO and an investor.
Hey,
Because
Tanya,
you're actually building. Yes, go for it, Michelle.
sorry to interrupt. This is fantastic. I just got a message from Brody, and I guess she's in the waiting room. She got kicked out, but wanted to be let back in.
You betcha. I let her in. She should be in now,
I
Brody.
just got in. Thank you
Oh,
so much,
awesome.
Michelle. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. Yeah, please take off your mics. If you have something to say, this is the free for all here. So that's great. I appreciate you doing that. Okay, so here is wake up call number one. If we're going to start thinking about our business as an investment, right, and moving into that space and recognizing what we're building, I want you to think about your business to date. How has it been performing for you as an investment? So wake up call number one is the return on investment that you have been making in your business. So here's some quick math. We're just going to take a minute or two to do this. I don't want you to overthink this. This is where a lot of founders go, as they dial in on the detail. But I want you to just think about how much money have you invested into your business to date? I know that's a big number to start thinking about, but you can break it down a couple of ways. You can think about it in terms of lost wages, right? Because that's actually an investment into the business. So if you are making, just so you know, if you're making $75,000 a year in your business, that's $36 an hour, right? Think about all the hours that you haven't been paid for. So question number one, how many hours have you been putting in that you haven't been paid for? And what would be the fair market rate? If you were going to work for someone else, what would they be paying you per hour to work those hours? Does that make sense? How many hours have you put in? What is the fair market rate that you have not been paid for? Just quick math. We can't fix the past, so I don't want you to get, too deep into this, because there's nothing we can do about it. All we can do is moving forward, fix it. So just get that number. And then the second number is, how much literal cash have you put into the business? What have you invested into the business? Websites, logo domains, like all of that money that you have actually spent on the business. Doesn't need to be a loan per se, but your investment in. Does everybody have those numbers, a rough idea? Pretty simple. Everybody okay there? Just give me a show of hands or a thumbs up. Let me know that you followed on that. Okay, awesome. So now you might not have these numbers in front of you, so you might need to guess at this. And then when you get to work with us, what we do is, these numbers every week. You're looking at these numbers. So there's no, I have no idea. So I want you to think about year to date. Year to date, what have your sales been? Total income. Total income year to date, just benchmark. It's amazing how many founders don't know that number too, right? Like so it kind of shows you, I really need to start digging into these numbers a little bit more. So year to date, what have your sales been? Give me a thumbs up when everyone's got that number. Everybody nod. Okay. Here's a trickier number now. Does anybody know what their net profit has been? So net profit is total sales minus your direct costs. That equals gross profit. From gross profit, you subtract indirect costs, otherwise known as operating expenses, and you're left with net profit. Who knows their net profit? Let me show of hands. Got a couple. Just so you know, most founders do not know their net profit. They wait until 4 months after year end when the accountant has prepared their financial statements. And then they look at their financial statements 4 months after year end. They go, oh, I did not end up at all where I thought I was going to end up. You get to control your net profit. You build your net profit. So if you don't know that number right now, don't worry about it, but make that an assignment. After this call, go find your net profit and then do this exercise. So if you have your total sales, let's say it's $1,000 as an example. No, 100,000. Let's be more generous. Sorry, 100,000. And let's say your net profit is 2,000. So after you've paid yourself, you now have 2,000. What you're going to do is you're going to take your net profit and you're going to divide it by your total sales to get your percentage. Everybody follow that math? Take your net profit, divide it by total sales, and that will equal your percentage. So in this case, 2,000 divided by 100,000 equals 2%. Right? Everybody with me? Now, why I'm getting you to do this manually is so that it registers in your brain and that you're not using an Excel sheet, so that you get this math. Because now we're sitting at that 2%. Now, I gave it away because I said you have to subtract your wages or your draw from that, right? Now that 2%, oftentimes founders haven't even accounted for their salary from that. And they're like, oh, from the 2,000, I actually took out 5,000, right? And so most founders are sitting in that negative situation. 87% of founders in our experience are generating less than a 3% net profit. Most are barely breaking even. Does anyone here feel like they're above that 3% threshold after having accounted for their wages, salary, draw, dividend, whatever you want to call it? Okay, so glad we're doing this work, because here's the wake-up call. How much money does a savings account give you? What interest do you make on a savings account? 1%. Solana's in there, 1%. It's usually about 1.79. Sometimes if you hold a balance, you can get it as high as 2, 2.5, 3%, depending on what that balance is. So here's the thing. When you put your money into a savings account, is your money guaranteed in Canada? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, it's guaranteed, right? Your money is guaranteed in Canada when you put your money into a savings account. So there's no risk. And how much time does it take you to transfer your money and put it into the savings account? 5 minutes max, right? By the time you open up. So now that you're aware of this number, now you have a choice to make, right? This is the unfortunate thing with the wake-up call. There's nowhere left to hide with this now, because what we could have done is we could have taken that investment of time and money and we could have put it into a savings account and we would have made 1.79%, zero risk and 5 minutes worth of work. And we are choosing to build an investment that we're putting in 40 hours a week, 100% risk, no guarantees, and losing money on it or barely breaking even, right? Like it's like, wait a minute, hold your horses, right? Like what is going on? So that's wake up call number 1. Does everybody get the importance of that one? Your business is an investment. Your net profit is the ROI. It's the return on your business investment. It's showing you the value that you're getting in exchange for the effort that you're putting in. Does that sit with everybody? Can you just give me a thumbs up to now go, oh, okay, I'm getting that, right? Awesome. Okay. So that's wake up call number 1. Wake up call number 2 is the compensation that you actually really need to be earning. So we talked all about that financial vulnerability at home, right? Not saving, our debt is starting to build up. We've got all these personal liens on our, promissory notes and liens on our personal assets. We've cashed in our RRSPs. So now the real math is understanding how much money do you really need to be earning every month to ensure your financial security at home for your family. How many of you know that number? A couple people. Okay, awesome. So what I'm going to do here, I don't want to overcomplicate this. I'm going to be giving you access to some really cool tools that I'm going to show you in a moment. But the whole premise of the tools, it's work that you can do before our next boot camp. It's called the Stronghold Budget. And when we hear the budget word, most people start twitching again. It's like, but what goes wrong in our society, I believe, is that we train and condition people to do what they can with what they make. Oh, you're only making $5,000 this month? Okay, we're going to scrimp on this. We're going to scrimp over here. We won't pay down the debt as much, right? We do what we can with what we make. I want you to start thinking about, what do I actually need to make to ensure everything gets done? Because this is the gift of being a founder. And it might not feel like it, but it's the absolute truth. You have no ceiling on how much money you can earn. You have no ceiling. You're not an employee where there's a specific gap and a ceiling, right? On, oh, this is how much on this particular role. You have no ceiling with respect to how much you can earn. So now the trick is to figure out exactly what that number is going to be. So I'm going to show you the tool after, but I just want to walk you through what is, I'm just going to take us through here. When we look at building our stronghold budget, we're actually going to be taking a look at spending. So you know, we've got our 5 pillars again in personal and business financial stewardship. These are just called different things in business. In our personal lives, we call them spending, saving, investing, sharing, and earning. In business, we call them revenue, direct cost, indirect cost, net profit, right? So they're just called different things. I'll speak to that in a moment. But what we need to do is we need to actually understand, what do we need to budget for when it comes to needs, wants, splurges, and debt repayment. For savings, how much money do you need to start setting aside every month to make sure you have enough in your emergency fund to take care of any emergencies that may arise, including global pandemics? Investing, how much money do you need to set aside every month to ensure that come your retirement, you have enough money set aside so you can retire comfortably? Just so you know, savings is short-term security. Retirement is long-term security. That's all it is. And it's interesting because we perpetuate a pattern of insecurity as founders, right? And vulnerability. So that's, you know, just so you know, I've got a background in behavioral finance and neuroeconomics. So understanding how our mind works around money. And this is what I see come up most often for founders, is the vulnerability and lack of security, the pattern that we keep repeating that keeps us in that state of being vulnerable, right? So then we have sharing, which is giving, donations, and taxes. And then we have earning, which is the monthly compensation that is actually required. So again, I'm going to show you a tool in a moment that when you get all of this information together, I think you'll love it. Again, it's a game changer. But most people, how many of you, I'm curious, how many of you think that you are earning enough right now to take care of your needs financially at home? Yeah, crickets. So usually most founders, there are the rare exceptions where founders like, oh yeah, no, I'm good, I'm clear, I'm good. But most founders need to, their salary in particular, right? So when you're doing this, you're going to do it with your partner, but your salary, it is likely maybe to need to be doubled, right? Sometimes when we have a partner, that partner's salary is what I call a crutch, because we're just scraping by, we're earning enough to feel comfortable, right? And we're getting kind of what we need to get done, and they're bringing home the bacon, so everything feels okay. When you actually do the true math, you realize that it's time for you to up your game. It's time for you to no longer play small and build big, because you need to contribute to the financial situation, because what the partner is making is not enough in addition to what you're currently making. So I'll show that tool to you in a second. Okay, so that is the second wake up call. That is going to be your assignment before our next boot camp, which is the Financially Fierce Formula. And that is going to be to build your stronghold budget. And I'm going to quickly walk you through the tools that you're going to have that will take you through that exercise step by step. So how much you really need to be earning, in most cases, it's double what you're earning right now when you account for your taxes as well. The third wake up call is your retirement shortfall, which means how much money do you actually need, you and your partner, do you need to retire comfortably at the time that you wish to retire? How many of you know what that number is? Do we know what your shortfall is? Patty does, our finance person. Finance person has all of our numbers here. Okay, so let me show you. I am actually going to move into showing you some of the tools right now, because I know I'm throwing some things at you, but I want you to see how easy this is going to be. When you download your tools, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. I'm just going to be mindful of my time here. Sorry, I'm coming back over here. And I'm going to go here. Okay. So your first tool that you're going to open is, it is called your Stronghold Budget. And again, it's going to walk you through all of the exercises, but I'm going to give you a snapshot here. And that is that when you come into this budget, you're going to be putting in your current budget. So what your current situation looks like under spending, sorry, and I'm trying to scroll here, under your spending needs, your wants, your spending on splurges, your spending on debt, and your investments, your saving, and your sharing, right? So you're going to put all of those numbers in. You can see in this example, our total expenses, I'll make this a little bit bigger, total expenses for the month, $12,913. This founder is actually short every month, $1,913. So they've been overspending by $1,913, and that again is coming from where? Their credit cards, right? So we know that Canadians are overspending by 84 cents on every dollar. So I highly suspect that when you do this math, you're going to have a negative down here. When you come over to the Stronghold budget, you're going to make some changes with respect to adding for your savings account, right? Sorry. And just so you know, in the tool, we're there for you for every step of the way. And this is why I want you to do the second boot camp, because I'm happy to answer any questions that come up on your personal budget. But as you go through, some of your needs may stay the same. Your wants may change. Like you might decide that you're going to come out and knock out some of those subscriptions and Netflix and Disney. And okay, we don't need the 25 different subscriptions, right? You're going to maybe lock in that you actually want a budget for gifts. But most importantly, under the Stronghold budget, here's where you're actually really going to dial in on your debt repayment, on your investment number, and on your taxes. So in this particular example, at the top here, this founder was earning $3,000. And when they did the math actually showed them that they need to earn $7,970 to make sure that their budget is sound and solid. So now they know that the business actually needs to pay them $7,970, not the $3,000 that they've been skating by on. Right? How many of you have been feeling like you've been skating by? Just skating by month to month. So again, this can be scary, but I want it to be more motivating because there's no ceiling on how much money your business can actually pay you every month. And I'm going to show you how you do that. So once you get how much you really need to be earning here, the other piece of this is the retirement calculator. So these are tools that are for you, and I'm going to show you how to access them. But when you come to these tools, again, in this snapshot, what I love about these tools, and I apologize because I can't go through it today, but I am available to support you through this in the next boot camp. We'll open up that call a little bit earlier. It will show you when you put in your age and what age you plan to retire, the years to pay out, how much your current investments are actually making. You plug all of the numbers in and it will actually show you what your retirement shortfall is. And it accounts for inflation. So one little fascinating tidbit with this is if we think we need $100,000 in today's dollars to retire per year, right? So $100,000 per year. What is our current inflation rate? Anybody know? We did go up to 8.4. Right? We've dropped down a little bit. So I'm just going to show you with this calculator, you can play with this number because the annual inflation, if we set it at 3, if we think we need $100,000, inflation at 3% is actually going to be $165,000 by the time we retire at 62. If inflation goes up to 4, it actually turns to 194, right, of what we actually need. So it's fascinating. Again, I'm going to give you the tools and I'm going to walk you through them in the next boot camp. I'll show up early to help you through that. What I want you to arrive at is what is your retirement shortfall? And here's why. So in this case, if I put this back, this founder is short $976,826. Just so you know, this calculator is a calculator that's very similar to the calculators that most financial advisors would use. I just want you to use it so that you can own it and then ask really good questions of your financial advisor, right? So that you're in control of the numbers. Okay, so here's the wake up call with the retirement number. So we've got wake up call number 1 is your current ROI. Wake up call number 2 is the compensation you really need to be earning. You can't do those numbers today, but I'm going to give you the tools to be able to do them. And wake up call number 3 is your retirement shortfall, because we know that Canadians right now are $13.7 trillion deficit for retirement needs. So other than putting money aside every month to make that shortfall come about, to make it, you know, to wipe it out and have the money necessary to retire, where else can we find that retirement fund? Where else can we find that $900,000?
Equity in selling your business.
There you go. Yes, lottery tickets and equity in selling your business. Absolutely. So how anybody get how that number would equate to your bottom line? How do you build up that equity in your business? Anybody know? Okay, so here's how it goes. When you're looking to increase the value of your business investment, right? Because now your business is an investment. So if you're looking to increase the value, there's a couple of things you can do. Obviously, increase cash, increase the sales. So valuation models can use several different methods. One is what they call future cash flow. So the more consistent your clients are with paying you a specific amount of money, that's what we call future cash flow, right? The money, you've just created a money machine of money coming in. The second method is what we use. It's your assets, right? So it's the assets in the business. Assets in the business include equipment, inventory, maybe a little bit of goodwill, but that becomes really subjective, right? Any cash or investments that the business has made. So those are assets in the business. That increases the value. And the third method to increase the value in your business is your bottom line. So if people are going to come in and buy your business, it can't just be enough that you've got top line sales. It needs to have bottom line profitability. Now, why bottom line is so important is because in every industry, the number is different, but they do what's called a multiple. So they take your bottom line and they multiply it by a number. So if you're in a financial service industry, they might multiply your net profit by 1.5. If you're in a tech industry, they're going to take your net profit minus founder wages, right? That's the first thing they do. It's they like, are you paying yourself? No, we're going to take that away from the net profit. So if you're in the tech industry, they take your bottom line and they multiply it by 10. And then they're like, okay, here's your purchase price. Here's what we're giving you for the business. So now when you know your retirement shortfall, what you actually have now is your goal, your long-term goal. I need to build my business into a business that is going to be worth X. So if we come back to those 5 questions, right, we circle back. I need to build a business that's going to be worth $900,000 in the next 10 years, whatever that may be. Now you have a goal. Most people pick their goal out of thin air. Oh, I'd like it to be $1 million. I'd like to build a $500,000 company. But if you're not emotionally aligned with the goal, if you don't know why you need that money, you won't create it. That's just behavioral finance. If you don't have the goal, you can't create it. we would, oh, I'm not going to go there. Sorry. A rabbit hole that I'll get stuck on. Does that make
Can I
sense for
just
you?
ask a quick question?
Yeah, please, Brody.
Is that based on your most recent fiscal year, or is it like an average of the last couple of years when they go to do that calculation?
Oh, yeah. So valuations are very gray. And I've given you kind of 3 benchmarks in terms of what a valuator will do. I think a lot of it depends on the industry. A lot of it depends on economics, right? And so in the work that we do with you too, we also look at, well, what is the window of opportunity? Because Blockbuster didn't see it, right? They did not sell in time, nor did they pivot in time. So we always have to be mindful of that, especially now with AI, right? Because we might think it's valuable right now, but in 5 years, is a disruptor going to come along? And so we always have to be thinking like that as an investor, right? What is the window of opportunity on this investment? So sorry, Brody, that's not a clear answer for you, but
No,
unfortunately,
that's okay.
there isn't
Thank
one.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so those are the 3 wake-up calls. Now, here are 3 critical reasons why your net profit is so important, right? Because one is that as a business owner now, your net profit is, does anybody remember the first and most critical reason why net profit is so important? We talked about it at the beginning of this session. It's your savings. It's your emergency net. At the end of the day, you have this extra amount of money. And I know, and we're going to stay around for another half hour for questions, but I know all of you as founders, you go, oh, my paperwork says I have a net profit, but my bank account says I don't. Where did it go? This is what happens. I'm going to tell you why that happens. But when we get net profit and when we plan for it intentionally, and when we're looking at it every week and every month, we set it aside and we put it into our savings account. So first reason why net profit is so important is that it's savings. Second reason is it is because your short and long-term return on investment, right? In that month, it's the ROI that you're making. And in the long term, it's the purchase price that you're going to be able to charge for your business. It informs that. So it's your short and long-term valuation, increased value, ROI. And the third reason circles back to why we actually started this call. It's about the impact that you can make in the world. Most founders, everybody on this, not everybody, but a lot of people on this call, when we started the call and we said, why are you starting your business? We said it was about purpose and impact and wanting to give back and making the world a better place. We also now know that most of us have put the world first as we compromise ourselves financially. So we're looking to do well in the world, but at our cost and our family's cost and our financial security. It's that cliche of you've got to put your oxygen mask on. It's the only way you're going to be able to show up consistently for others. So the third reason is that it is from your net profit that you make your impact. It's from your net profit. Sorry, I'm going to reframe that because your business is impact, but your purpose, it's your giving, it's your philanthropy. When you want to give back, if you want to build a scholarship program in your course so more people can take your course, it's from the net profit that you can take a portion of those proceeds. Jim Pattison builds hospitals not to compromise his businesses, but he takes it from the net profit to build those hospitals. His businesses run smoothly and fluently and efficiently and financially with financial security, right? It's from the net profit. It's from the extra that once you've got your emergency net established and your business is healthy, that now you can start going back and giving back powerfully back into the communities that you serve. Does that make sense for everybody? So 3 critical reasons why net profit is so, so important. So what I want to come to right now, in case people need to jump off the call immediately at 10:30, I want you to come to this slide right away. And I want you to grab this QR code because this QR code is going to get you into the Stronghold budget. So maybe even take a picture of this slide, get what you need from it, because when you come to this website, it's going to ask you to enroll in the Stronghold budget. And when you enroll, I want you to use this code, nail the numbers 2023, and that will get you in for free. So City of Airdrie is covering the cost on this. There's huge value in this. All of your tools are in there, and I'm going to show that at 11:30. And I'll walk you through that if you have any questions on it, but I don't want you to miss this opportunity to build your personal budget. Okay, does that make sense for everybody? Get that, and I'll circle back on this after. Okay, so now once you understand, once you finish your personal budget, you will now know exactly what the business needs to be paying you every month. And you'll also know what you need to build, right? Long term. You now have a goal for your business and you now have financial alignment. It's like, here's what I need to earn and why, and here's what I need to build and why. Now you're motivated to make it happen. And you need your brain to actually know that for it to move forward into the next step, which is the plan. And this is why I think, not the plan, but it's the gap again, why most business owners are failing. They don't have a goal, they don't have alignment, and they don't have the plan. And this is what I'm really excited to work with you on in part B of our work together in the Financially Fierce formula. So I built this out of necessity, having failed the first business. I'm like, why did that go so wrong? So here's what the process looks like. And again, this is what I find fascinating. In all of our work, we use a term called reverse engineering. And it is basically going backwards and bottom up. Now that you know the goal, so you're actually going to start at the end. You start at the end. You know what you need to build. In this example, we said we need to build a business that's going to be worth $900,000. How do we do it? We actually start by setting you up first and foremost with a net profit of at least 11.5. We actually plan for the profit first. It's not the aftermath, it's the forethought that goes into it. And this is the only number we pick out of the thin air because 10% is for you, because we know you could go and put your money into an EFT or an index fund and really conservatively make anywhere from 5 to 8% for very little time, right? So we want this investment to be healthy for you. So we're starting you at 10 and 1.5 is for CRA. So that's the only number that we've picked. The rest you need to nail down. So then we go from the bottom up. So we work backwards and now we go bottom up. We lock in on all of your indirect costs. Indirect costs are what we call operating expenses. Then we actually jump up and we determine your key revenue streams. It sounds easy, but I guarantee once you get to this exercise, you'll be like, oh, this is actually a lot of work because you're optimizing what 3 to 5 revenue streams are going to generate over 80% of your revenue. So we optimize your revenue streams. Then we do what we call the, we're going to go down to direct costs. Sorry, I switched these up, but we calculate the direct cost per revenue stream, right? The direct cost. So what you're out of pocket to sell that product or service, we're going to lock in on direct cost per revenue stream. And then we set a profitable price point, not what the competition down the road is charging, but based on your costs, based on your value, and based on what is out in the market, what is the true price you should be charging? Most founders undervalue themselves tremendously. It's horrific, the prices that you're charging based on the value that you're actually offering. So what this then shows us, when we go bottom up, we then actually see, well, here's exactly how much money the business needs to be earning to cover our indirect costs, to cover our direct costs, to pay myself a healthy salary, charging the right price, and ending up with a net profit. It'll show you, here's what your sales need to be. It's just X number. Then we actually take you through a sales strategy. Again, reverse engineering. If you need to sell X, here's how many people you need to create awareness with and walk them through the funnel. And then once we do that, then we build a 3-year financial plan. So then it's like, okay, so starting now, how do I get to that goal? How do I get to that 900,000? So then it starts to scale. So quarter after quarter, year after year, it just shows you, it is your business plan in numbers. It just says, here's what I do. Here's when I hire this person. Here's when I introduce this product. Here's when I move into my new space. Here's when I do, like, it just shows you. There's nowhere left to hide. Like, it's all mapped out. And then even as a bonus, then we set you up with your books, so your books are calibrated. So you can actually pull legitimate reports out of your software and understand what they mean and see where you're at according to plan. And then we support you with the pros, like our accountant in residence and our inventory management pro. Like we've got all of this set up for you. So we're ready to go with this. Now, I am going to take us a couple minutes over. I want to show you this. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you this and then I'm going to come back in case anybody needs to go right at the, well, I'm a minute over. But Jessica and the city of Airdrie are offering part B of this boot camp. It is the Financially Fierce Formula. We're going to walk you through each one of those steps together. We're going to do it for 3 hours. You come with your laptop, you come with your calculator, ideally not your phone calculator, because that's a beast to work. I don't know if any of you have challenges with it like I do. City of Airdrie is only charging you $20 for this boot camp. It's $990 for you to do it. You get all of the tools, you get all of the instruction. We're going to go through the work together. I hope if anything, you can see how when you understand your personal numbers and then you dial in on your business numbers, how the whole financial package works together, right? It's a puzzle where all these pieces fit in. And everybody thinks that, oh, we need to increase sales, or, oh, we need to do marketing, or, oh, we just need to hire the salesperson. Here's what tanked me. What tanked my business in 2008 was the more sales I made, the greater my net profit deficit became. The more sales I made, the more money I was losing. I was hemorrhaging money in what I call the messy middle. It's the revenue stream, direct cost, and price. I beg of you, please do this work with me on November 21st. Please, $20, 3 hours. It will completely change how you build your business. It will keep you alive. I promise you. So it's going to be November 21st. It's 9 to 12 Mountain Time, and I'm coming in person. Jessica, where are we holding it? Do you know yet?
We're going to be at Genesis Place in the Rotary Room.
Awesome. So in person, get ready to show up, all the distractions set aside, and we're going to go through these steps together. Broad brushstrokes, and I'm going to show you how to use the calculators. I'm also going to be there early if you want to go through any of this information on your personal budget so that we can get you locked in on that. Any questions on the boot camp on part B? All good. Everybody has the QR code. And I think Jessica, yes, thank you. Jessica put the link in there. Please, please, please. Is there anybody, I'm stopping this. Anybody not going to come to the boot camp? Is anybody not coming to part B? Okay. Denise.
I'm here as a business development officer for the city of Swift Current. So I'm kind of just here to glean some information for support for businesses and stuff. So I wouldn't have any numbers to input. So, but this has been great.
Okay. Awesome. Well, and it's interesting, Denise, I won't put you on the spot, Jessica, but oftentimes when we do this work with economic developers for their office. And then economic are like, whoa, there's a lot of numbers to crunch here, right? Because you start to get familiar with the process, but I'll leave it there. Anybody else thinking that they won't come to the boot camp? I really hope to see all of you there. I really do. I promise you it's a game changer. This is not a course, it's a skill. It's a skill that when you learn it, you do it for every product, you do it for every service, you do it for any business. It's the exact same formula that you would use over and over again. This is what they should be teaching at university and school and in entrepreneurship and Lemonade Day, how to create a financially viable business that doesn't put you at risk, but that actually you build a business investment out of it that you can sell. Right? Do you know that if every founder were to increase their net profit by 1% in Canada, we would wipe out the country's entire deficit? This is the thing. You are anything but small. You are so powerful. You just need to own that power. And it starts by owning your numbers and making sure you're making that money to make the world a better place. Okay. I'm going to share one other screen here, and then I'm going to take any questions you have. This is an actual example, and I just want to show you the power of planning for profit here. So this was a construction company that we worked with in 2009. I do a lot of work with a national bank that is the bank for entrepreneurs. I won't use any names, but we do a lot of work with their clients, and their clients oftentimes think, Our sales are really strong, but we would like to be a stronger business. And so they usually come in thinking, how do we increase our sales? So the before shot, and this is what I use this example because many founders are in the same boat. They have sales. They did not know their revenue streams. They knew that they did home builds and renovations. They knew that, but they didn't break it down. Well, what do you do? Well, we do home builds and renovations. So they didn't, everything was lumped into one bucket, what we call sales. Their direct costs, everything was lumped into buckets like materials and subcontractors, but they didn't calculate direct costs attached to each revenue stream. Each revenue stream has its own set of direct costs because that way you can tell what product or service is most profitable for you, right? It's a very important exercise. And then under indirect costs, you can see their team and personnel, they weren't paying themselves a healthy salary. Space and operating was low. These are in percentages here. They weren't really dialing in on marketing. There was no expense there. And then they did have a little bit of debt. But pay attention to this number, which is negative 14%. So strong sales, so talking a good talk, but their net profit, they were not walking the talk. They were digging a hole that was getting deeper and deeper for them, the stronger their sales became. FYI, spoiler alert, you cannot operate a business on 110% direct costs. Right off the top. You can't be breaking even, it can't be above because you still have profit to account for and indirect costs. So all we did is we followed the formula. We got really clear on what their profit needed to be, their revenue streams, direct costs for revenue stream, their pricing, right? And then that showed them what their sales needed to be. Check out what happened. Their sales actually decreased. They went from 4.1 million to 3.8 million. They locked in on their revenue stream. So now they knew they specialized in medium, large, extra large renos and custom homes. We calculated the direct cost per revenue stream. So anytime they put an estimate or a price out, it was never to go above this percentage, right? So you're going to end up with a template that will show you how to estimate projects so that you always land on your planned direct cost or lower than. So now they've dialed in on their direct costs. We actually increased their indirect costs. So I guarantee everybody on the call, your indirect costs will actually go up because we budget for a fair founder salary. We actually put that in as item number 1. What is the fair founder salary that you need to be earning? So their indirect costs went up, and look at their net profit. Their net profit went up by 23%. They went from negative 14 and they started making $353,000 in net profit. They actually make over $1 million in net profit right now. It's when you clean up the messy middle. It's when you get locked in on revenue stream, direct cost, and price. Your indirect cost will actually increase, right? But that messy middle, what I call that Bermuda Triangle, where profits perish and dreams go to disappear, that's where you're losing all of your net profit. That's why I want you to show up on the 21st so I can get you dialed in. That's where we're going to focus, get you dialed in on those numbers so that you can get that money back. All right. Hopefully that was as clear can be. And just so you know, our intention in the way that you think, when we think about mindset, this whole idea of this label of small business owner, right? We live in a world where we're labeled as small. We just got off of Small Business Week. I personally believe that it's at our detriment because we've bought into this idea that we're small. And I think this is what keeps us paying ourselves a small wage, charging a small price, and generating a small net profit. So our goal in helping you crunch your numbers and really understand them is to get you from thinking small into thinking like an entrepreneur. The actual definition of entrepreneur is one who creates a financially viable business, turns an idea into a financially viable business, then into an investor, getting that ROI, right? You're building a solid investment, and then into a philanthropist. And we call you a steward of profit. We want you to redefine what it actually means to make a profit in this country, because it's not greedy, it's not opportunistic. You don't need to feel guilty about it. It's where all of your impact is going to be felt. The big impact, you showing up powerfully in the world. Okay, Anybody need this screen again? Everybody's got that. The link is in the chat. We covered a lot today. I'm really grateful again for all of you showing up so powerfully. I'm happy to take any questions you have. Maybe you've got a couple of them swirling around your brain right now, but are there major ones that we can talk about right now?
Why don't we take off record, Tanya? And then that would
Great
be
idea.